here, and I'm back with another video. Well, it seems that there's some interesting news as of late. People who've been keeping their ear to the ground have been hearing some interesting little tidbits, like Nintendo Life, for example, saying that Nintendo confirms Miiverse for 3DS soon. Smartphone apps for the network also coming. Now, a lot of people go, okay, Quan, been there, done that, heard that, been hearing that for ages. But you know what? Here's the interesting part. There have been other sites that have been talking about off-app, off-site purchases from the actual eShop, via smartphone, via PC, etc. and whatnot. Making purchases, for the eShop in advance, sort of like what PlayStation does with the PlayStation Store. I'm starting to get the feeling that Nintendo's close to announcing a unified eShop structure for the 3DS and Wii U. And if that's to happen, then that's not far off to say that they are going for tying purchases to account versus hardware. Hmm. If that were to happen, a lot of those fence sitters that use that as an excuse can no longer use that. That's interesting. I just find this very intriguing because, there's other things that can come into the fore because of this. A unified account structure can also allow for more games to be cross-platform compatible between 3DS and Wii U like they did with Monster Hunter. I've said this many times before. It could even be, package deals where you can get the portable version as a downloadable option if you register your copy, your physical copy, and or if you buy a digital copy from the eShop. If you buy a digital copy from the eShop, download the portable version to your 3DS. If you get physical copy, register it, with Club Nintendo, download the copy for your 3DS. There you go. If you get a used copy, buy the portable version. Problem solved. People will go, oh, that's DRM, Quan. Yeah, and in this case, I don't see it as a big freaking deal. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be some type of perks to being, somebody buying something straight brand new, you know? But at least they're not going to be pulling some nonsense like a season pass that I know of, at least. So, what do you guys think about the prospect of one, out of eShop purchases, like pre-purchasing, if you will? Like if you're at work, get on your little cell phone, say, yo, check this out, man. I heard they got such and such game coming out. I'm going to sit up here and download it. I'll get with you later. Then all of a sudden you go right there, do your little purchase, come home, because the purchase was already made. Since the Wii U allows for, standby downloads, it's already installed on your external hard drive when you get home. Something that other systems have more likely than not taken advantage for ages, because I know that you can do off, like let's say, you can do purchases similar to that, on the PS3 if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Nintendo, you're starting to play catch up. If that's what you're trying to do, kudos to you. But what do you guys think of that and the possibility of seeing 3DS versions compatible with Wii U versions of games more often? What do you think of also the prospect of cross-platform play that they're doing with iOS and PC, as well as Android? Because there are apps coming, game apps rather, that you're able to do that with. All this in a unified account ID, no longer tied to hardware. Well, in other news, and this is a simple one, doodling allowed in Miiverse, increasing, doodling around, not so much in Miiverse, rather. I'm sorry. I mean TV. They've allowed the doodling on TV, which is interesting for those of you who are sports aficionados and would like to call out a glaring mistake on the call of a play by a ref. A lot of fun. We all know, many of you love to nitpick sports and say, dude, laces out, laces in. Yeah, little Married with Children reference there for those of you who are familiar with the 80s of that little mess. Laces out, laces in. But anyway, yeah, you can nitpick all you want with your buddies on Miiverse and say, "Yo, bad call," or you could even watch like WWE SmackDown and say how a ref was dumb that he sat up there and missed the call on a pin or a submission, and circle around, point an arrow, sit up here, put horns behind the guy's head, make him look like a total douche, that sort of thing. All while all the feed is being updated with screenshots live. I mean that's pretty hot. You know what I'm saying? It would be nice to see the Optimum app on the, not the Optimum app rather, but yeah, the Optimum app would be nice to see on the Wii U. But I also would like to see the WWE app. I'm a WWE fan. I don't mention it often. You know, hell, I'll put it this way: I'm from back in the day, getting jealous of all the people who sat up there and saw closed circuit television to see Hulk Hogan get the belt from the Iron Sheik, and I was hating. Back in the day, closed circuit television was usually in bars and whatever, and you were a young kid, and your dad didn't want you to watch that mess. The likelihood of you getting a chance to see it on closed circuit television was next to nil. But yeah, whatever. Grown man now, watch whatever the hell I want. I can watch all the fake action as I please, all the scripted action. Yes, that's right. I said wrestling scripted. Still impressive. You gotta admit, to pull off, and execute all those moves and to do it with minimal injury. They're like stuntmen with a script and that can act. That's basically it. You know what I'm saying? They're like the Fall Guys, of sports entertainment, if you will. And yeah, another 80s reference there. Yeah, so now TV is starting to step up their game a little bit, and I don't mean television, I mean TV, starting to step up their game. I wonder what they're going to come with next. The only thing I could ask for is for Nintendo to find a way to put a DVR function utilizing, their video capture, which they obviously have some form of capture because they can do stills. I got a feeling there's something hidden there in the firmware they're not telling us. But who knows? And the excuse of storage capacity is next to nil because even just using the memory on my Wii U, the black Wii U itself, so far I have 16 gigs left, and the hard drive don't even get me started. Because the games don't take up much hard drive space. I mean, you get a 500 gig for cheap. You get one for like about 50, $60 on average, and that's not on sale. On sale, you can get it for way less, and Black Friday's coming. If Nintendo were smart and they did have some type of DVR function and some type of game capture function enabled, especially if it was able to capture the small screen and the large screen and actually allow uploads, that would be freaking insane. And considering that Nintendo's a YouTube partner, it's a no-brainer. They're already using the video, proprietary chat system that they're using, the same one that's used with Google Hangouts. So, if Nintendo, you're listening, if this is what you're coming up with, if this, perhaps my intuition is sitting up here and misfiring, but if this is what you're coming up with, that'd be excellent. If not, you need to get on it. Because that would truly make, for interesting features for players that are feature hungry. Me, the only thing I care about is what are the play mechanics of a game like, and I can be satisfied, generally speaking. I guess I take after my mom and, how she views games, because she was a gamer, she's a gamer now, and she's 64 years old, and I got a lot of her traits. My dad, he's impatient as hell, so he's like, I could care less about video games, but my mom was just over her house, lent her my 3DS, well, technically she jacked it from me, so she could play Chrono Trigger. And by the way, I will be having an interview with my mom concerning gaming, so you guys can meet her and she's gonna tell you her opinion on gaming and whether graphics matter. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting to hear opinion from the older generation, and I'm gonna even talk to the younger generation, my son, ask him what's his opinion on gaming, and that's gonna be coming up in this channel as well. Okay? But I digress, and I know I'm getting off topic. All these functionalities that could presumably come to the Wii U, as well as the ones that we know are coming. Looking at the timing involved, it looks like this particular fall update that they said was supposed to be large has a lot of potential. So, what do you suspect, as my audience, what do you suspect Nintendo has hidden, in their sleeve, as it were, concerning this fall update? And we know Black Friday is hitting, and Nintendo can strike, they can make lightning strike twice, like they did with the Wii, if they do it smart. What do you suspect is coming? Because at a $300 price tag, if they pull off a bunch of features that we know the other ones got for less, it'd be quite an interesting ride we'll have for this generation. You know? And to me, seeing them compete rather than just, all three of them compete rather than just two consoles competing is just better for business. It's better for the gaming industry as a whole. Now, before I sign off, I wanted to touch on something that a friend of mine brought to my attention. Seems like there's some souls out there that seem to think third party trumps first party. And, my buddy, he pointed this out to me that someone said this, and the individual, well, you guys already know who it is by now. I mean, if you don't, trust me, you'll hear about it sooner or later. This individual said that third party trumps first party only because of the sheer quantity of third party titles out there. Well, I beg to differ for one simple respect. Okay? Third party trumps first party as far as they get more money for themselves. Any console that depends solely on third party is at the mercy of the third parties. Why? Their licensing fees are not going to be that exorbitantly high to actually make up for the cost of hardware if they're taking a loss without a high attachment rate. You'd have to have, let's say for example, you have a $60 game. You license it for approximately 10% of the value of MSRP. So that's $6 per sale. You have a console that costs somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 to manufacture, but you're selling it, okay, for let's say, let's say 500, and you're selling it for 400. Let's just say. So now, you're taking a loss for each console. Let's say, arguably speaking. Now, this is not actually happening to any of the console manufacturers, to the best of my knowledge. It's just giving an example. You would end up having, let's say, a loss of $100 per console. Let's just argue here. Now, at $6 earned per game, third party, you would have to have an attachment rate well in the neighborhood of about approximately, I would say, 15 games, give or take. 15 games, give or take, attachment rate over the lifetime of the console. Your average gamer or even parent are not going to really buy that many games in the lifetime of a console at full price. Odds are they will look for sales, and when they do that, they take, certain people was going to take losses, and the losses trickle up in this case. Okay? They have to cut prices, they take a loss. Does that look good for console manufacturers? No, it doesn't. They would have to put out a huge volume at low price to make up the difference, and even then take a loss in one form or another of potential sales. Whereas, if they develop a good first-party exclusive or lock in a contract with a third-party exclusive, and there's no backlash with it, and there's a good attachment rate, they stand a better chance of recouping amount of money, except for in the case of a third-party exclusive, because they would have to pay get it unlocked. Okay, and it has to be popular to justify the expense. So, like I said, first party games, financially speaking, trump third party from a business standpoint. Again, further, if you look at the fact that multiplats in general, you have to compete with other platforms, PC, separate consoles, possibly even mobile. Being that mobile's slowly starting to catch up with consoles. And that cuts it into the attachment rate of, of the overall, it cuts into the overall amount of attachment rate that you see in these games, a console. And nobody, I'm going to tell you, is going to buy more than one copy of a game unless they're very, 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 very clumsy. Or are very generous and want to go gift giving. Even then, that's still not an attachment rate for one console. That's still spread out to whoever they give that copy to, because that's one less copy they're spending. So overall, it pans out. So at the end of the day, who's third party really trumping? And if they're doing so well, why are so many studios closing? Why are so many studios downsizing? Nice try. You're not fooling anybody. Okay? If the big three really want to survive, if the big three really want to make it, if the big three want to be successful this console generation, they need to focus better on managing their expenses, better on providing a value to the computer, the computer slash console gaming consumer, outside of just pretty graphics, overblown special effects, and and hair, and things of the like. They have to bring gameplay. They have to bring story. They have to bring substance. Something that makes the value be brought to the price of admission. This is why a lot of people, for example, if you take the movie industry, they're not going to spend $10 on a ticket on a movie that's only worth a matinee to them. They're going to wait. Tomb Raider was nice. I waited a couple of months and I got it for what, $15 on Amazon? $15 after a couple of months. And that was a very high rated game. But quite honestly, I was getting it for PC. I wasn't getting it for PS3. I was just, because in case I decide to switch graphics cards and whatever, I decided at a later date, hey, it'll look nicer. Why not? Had it come on Wii U, I would have got it. Only because it has an additional option, maybe, possibly, if Square Enix decided to do this with Ito's put gamepad function, like GPS something, that would have been interesting. That would have been intriguing. That would have justified it a $60 expense for me, because it would be something different. It would be the same as all the others, plus, in addition to that, second screen functionality. Notice, to the third parties out there, I said in addition to. Didn't say nothing about that's the only perk it should have. For those of you who make excuses as to why features are missing, but again, I digress. Bottom line is, if these companies do not provide a value, you're going to see less third parties. So no, third parties, again, do not trump first party. So now that I squared all this mess that I was talking about away, anything you guys want to discuss in the channel, feel free. I'm going to be working on some new content soon. I'm going to restate, what I've said previously in other places, including posts elsewhere. A Spanish podcast, a veteran podcast, and of course the Gamers at Large podcast. Okay? The length of the podcast will be determined based on the topics at hand and the people that are involved, and, their participation. Okay? So, yes, look forward to that. And, like I said, I'll be starting doing giveaways and stuff like that every so often, as the need arises. And also, feel free to inbox me if you have any questions that you would like to have answered. or any news articles you would like to have reviewed and given opinions on. Now, I'm just going to tell you in advance, if you don't want a opinion that could potentially contrast with yours, don't inbox me. Because odds are, like I said, we might not agree. And if you're cool with that, then send me whatever. Okay? Feel free. And I'll give you a shout out. And no, I'm not going to take back the shout outs. And here's another thing, if I present a rumor and I present it as a rumor, I'll still give you credit for the article. No sense retracting or deleting videos because there's rumors all the time inside this industry. I mean, come on now, we've seen them left and right. So there's no need to knock yourself if you get an article and it turns out to be a dud. It happens. I've been caught out there more than once and made my share of snafus. Anyhow, until the next time, everybody. And as I always say, whatever's clever. Have a nice one.